The kitchen clock glowed 2:47 a.m. as I sat alone at the granite counter, divorce papers spread before me like a completed battle plan. The silence felt different now, not empty, but earned. Melissa used to call herself a ghost in her own house, claiming our 13 years of marriage had erased her identity. Now, she literally was one. Our Naperville cul-de-sac had promised the American dream, manicured lawns and neighbors who waved from driveways. I'd commuted to Schaumburg for 12 years, 2 hours daily in traffic to afford this life. Melissa handled PTA meetings and bake sales. We'd been good at it, or so I thought. The erosion started after our second child. Melissa talked about losing herself, feeling invisible. I listened, suggested couples therapy, then supported individual counseling when she said she needed space to find herself. I rearranged client meetings, handled weekend chores, anything to help her heal. Dr. Benjamin Klein entered our lives through Melissa's online research, a trauma specialist who helped people process long-buried identity issues. His business card lived on our refrigerator next to soccer schedules, his name becoming part of our weekly routine. "I have Dr. Klein today," she'd say Thursdays, and I'd adjust accordingly. The first months seemed promising. Melissa returned from sessions with different energy, lighter, almost giddy. Longer showers, more time dressing, vague talk about breakthroughs. When I asked specifics, she explained that Dr. Klein said healing was private, that sharing too soon could interfere with progress. I celebrated what I thought was recovery. My wife was smiling, laughing at jokes, even initiating intimacy occasionally. The strange thing was how manic it felt, like performed happiness rather than genuine feeling. But I wanted to believe in healing, in second chances, in professional help. I wrote checks without question, grateful someone could reach her when I couldn't. Red flags were subtle. New perfume for confidence, texts saying sessions ran long, that Dr. Klein was making real progress. The way she'd hum after therapy days, carrying secret songs. Most telling was how she quoted Klein's insights like revelations, his thoughts on marriage, theories about growth, advice about authenticity. I ignored these signs because I wanted to believe our story. I was the dutiful husband who'd found help for his struggling wife. She was courageously doing healing work. Dr. Klein was the skilled professional guiding her back to wholeness. It was beautiful, and I clung to it even as evidence mounted that something else was happening. The final irony hit me with those divorce papers. I'd paid for every session that destroyed our marriage. I'd rearranged my life to facilitate my own betrayal. I'd celebrated my wife's transformation without realizing she was transforming into someone else's lover, using therapeutic language to justify the unjustifiable, all funded with money I earned during those long commutes that kept me conveniently away from the truth unfolding in Dr. Klein's office. The discovery came on a Tuesday evening wrapped in mundane family chaos. 10-year-old Jake needed the iPad for his Illinois history project about Native American settlements. Melissa was making chicken parmesan, filling the house with herbs and melted cheese. 8-year-old Emma practiced piano, her halting Für Elise, providing soundtrack to what should have been ordinary family life. I was helping Jake research when the iPad synced to Melissa's iCloud, something that happened occasionally when devices crossed signals. New photos appeared, and I assumed it was another technical glitch. Our tablets often shared images unexpectedly. Then I saw it. Time-stamped from Thursday afternoon. The same Thursday, Melissa texted about Dr. Klein's session running long, when I'd handled school pickup and started dinner because she was working through a breakthrough. In the photo, Melissa stood in a downtown Aurora hotel mirror, wearing black lingerie I'd never seen. Behind her, shirtless and intimate, stood Dr. Benjamin Klein. The feeling was immediate and physical, like swallowing broken glass while drowning. My hands went numb. Normal family sounds continued around me, but I felt separated from it all, viewing our life through thick glass. I memorized every detail, the hotel's burgundy wallpaper, champagne on the nightstand, Melissa's possessive hand on Klein's shoulder, wedding ring visible. Her expression wasn't tentative rediscovery, it was confident betrayal. My mind calculated immediately. How many Thursday sessions? At least 20 over 5 months. How much per session? $160. How many rearranged client meetings for school pickup? How many conversations about her progress filled with elaborate lies about processing trauma and rebuilding authentic self? The devastating part wasn't sexual betrayal. It was realizing every conversation about healing had been performance. When she'd described Dr. Klein's insights helping her understand her authentic self, she'd been describing adultery in therapeutic language. When she'd explained healing required safe spaces and professional boundaries, she'd been establishing affair rules under mental health treatment guise. I sat there while my son researched beside me and my wife cooked in the next room. The juxtaposition was surreal, life's most normal moment occurring with its complete destruction. Jake asked about settlements, and I heard myself respond normally, helping him navigate websites. Functioning while everything collapsed felt like an out-of-body experience. I was performing father and husband while my identity dissolved. I quietly closed the iPad and finished homework help. At dinner, I complimented Melissa's cooking while she described her productive session with Dr. Klein, nodding supportively while knowing exactly what productivity meant. Internally, something fundamental shifted. The hopeful husband was gone, replaced by someone who understood hope was a luxury I couldn't afford. Tucking my children into bed that night, I made the decision that would define everything. I wouldn't confront Melissa until I had everything needed to win. The transformation from betrayed husband to methodical investigator happened overnight. By Wednesday morning, I was researching private investigators during lunch breaks, using incognito browsers with the precision of someone who'd learned trust was liability. A former colleague had mentioned Russ Karpinski, an ex-cop who specialized in delicate situations requiring documentation. I met Russ at a Schaumburg Denny's Saturday morning. He was exactly Central Casting would order, gruff, weathered, possessed of cynicism from seeing humanity's worst professionally. When I explained the situation, showing the iPad photo I'd transferred to secure email, he didn't blink. "Therapist banging his patient," he said, stirring sugar into coffee strong enough to dissolve metal. "Classic boundary violation. Your wife's not the first to confuse healing with screwing. Klein's definitely not the first shrink taking advantage. What do you want accomplished?" I wanted everything. Documentation of the affair, evidence of Klein's ethical violations, timeline proving pattern and intent, financial records showing how I'd unknowingly funded their relationship. Most importantly, proof that would protect my children from a mother who'd prioritize adultery over parental responsibility. Russ explained the process with clinical detachment. Surveillance would establish routine and provide photographs. Financial investigation would trace hotel payments. Digital forensics might recover deleted communications if I gained device access. His retainer fee made me wince, but compared to what I'd spent on Klein's sessions, it felt like investing in justice. Simultaneously, I consulted Margaret Holloway, a Wheaton divorce attorney whose reputation for infidelity cases was legendary and expensive. Her glass and steel office was designed to intimidate, and Margaret was exactly who you'd want during warfare disguised as legal proceedings. "Illinois is no-fault divorce," she explained, "but adultery factors into custody and asset distribution, especially with evidence of poor judgment affecting parental duties. What you've shown suggests marital misconduct and potential psychological manipulation. We need to document everything, not just the affair, but how it impacted her mothering." Margaret outlined strategic timeline. Continue gathering evidence while maintaining normalcy. Document every instance Melissa chose therapy over family obligations. Photograph household conditions. Keep detailed parental neglect records. Protect assets by opening separate accounts, establishing my role as stable, financially responsible parent. The next 3 months became compartmentalization masterclass. At home, I remained supportive husband, praising Melissa's progress, while internally cataloging lies. I took additional household responsibilities, which she accepted, claiming therapy was emotionally exhausting. I documented these conversations, noting how she used psychological terminology, justifying increased selfishness. Russ's surveillance revealed predictable, enraging patterns. Thursday afternoons weren't the only meetings. Melissa and Klein met Tuesday mornings when kids were in school, occasionally Saturdays during her errands. Aurora Hotel was primary, but they'd used Klein's office after hours and once dined in Naperville, 2 miles from home. Evidence photographs were professionally thorough, entering and leaving hotels, Klein's hand on her back through parking lots, Melissa checking mirrors before meetings. Most damaging were images from days she'd claimed sickness, canceling family plans for affair schedules. Surveillance captured audio through Klein's habit of leaving car windows open during calls. Russ recorded conversations where they discussed their relationship with shocking casualness. They joked about my naivety, Klein calling me perfect old husband, Melissa laughing about how I thanked her for therapy work. They discussed future plans, Klein suggesting they could continue indefinitely maintaining professional appearances. Most damaging evidence came from building security footage Russ obtained through hotel management contacts. Videos showed their routine explicitly: staff familiarity, comfortable navigation, intimate elevator interactions. These weren't random encounters, but calculated, ongoing adultery conducted with sustainable betrayal efficiency. By February, I had 3 months documentation: hotel receipts from Klein's credit records, hotel staff testimony. Margaret drafted divorce papers reading like indictments, detailing adultery, emotional abandonment, financial deception, and prioritizing extramarital relationships over parental duties. The difficult part wasn't gathering evidence, it was maintaining normalcy while fury consumed me. Every morning, watching Melissa dress for fake sessions, knowing she chose clothing Klein would remove in hotels I indirectly funded. Every evening, listening to elaborate insights about marriage and authenticity, understanding she was describing betrayal in therapeutic language. But patience was power. Reviewing final surveillance reports in March, I realized Melissa and Klein had grown so comfortable they'd become careless. 3 months of meticulous documentation was about to destroy their affair and futures. The question remaining was execution timing. Friday morning, March 15th, arrived with crisp spring air that usually made me optimistic about beginnings. The irony wasn't lost as I prepared to end my marriage on a day feeling like renewal. I'd chosen timing carefully, both kids in school, giving Melissa hours to process without traumatizing Jake and Emma. The process server arrived exactly at 7:30 a.m. as Melissa packed lunch boxes and reminded kids about after-school activities. I watched from the living room as she opened the door, expecting package delivery and receiving legal papers that would shatter her double life. Her face went through rapid expressions: confusion, recognition, then primal panic. "Daniel?" she called, voice breaking. "What is this?" I walked into the kitchen where she stood frozen, divorce papers scattered across the counter next to Emma's cereal bowl. Kids were upstairs getting backpacks, normal morning chatter filtering down, blissfully unaware their family was disintegrating. "It's exactly what it looks like," I said, voice steady in surprising ways. "I know about Dr. Klein. The Aurora Hotel. Every Thursday afternoon, Tuesday morning, and Saturday you've spent with him instead of your family." Melissa's denial was immediate, desperate. "I don't know what you're talking about. Dr. Klein is my therapist. Whatever you think you know, you're wrong." I reached into my prepared briefcase and spread photographs across granite. Melissa and Klein entering hotels, in restaurant windows, her lingerie mirror selfie, hotel receipts with therapy appointment timestamps, security footage, stills showing elevator intimacy. Evidence was overwhelming, undeniable. Melissa stared at photographs like stranger images, shaking her head. "How long have you known?" "October 8th, 5 months, 2 weeks, 3 days. My precision seemed to shatter something inside her. She sank into a kitchen chair, surrounded by betrayal evidence and Friday morning normalcy, lunch boxes, brewing coffee, refrigerator covered with children's artwork and Klein's business card. Meanwhile, across town, Dr. Klein discovered his professional life was ending. Margaret had coordinated with the Illinois Department of Financial and Professional Regulation, so state board investigators would arrive simultaneously with my divorce filing. Klein's trauma specialization wouldn't help him process losing license, reputation, and livelihood in one morning. Investigators had more than photographs. They had recordings of Klein and Melissa discussing their relationship, evidence of him using professional position to initiate inappropriate sexual relationships, testimony from other patients revealing Klein's boundary violation patterns. My wife wasn't his first affair, just the one stupid enough to be documented. Melissa's damage control attempts were painful. She tried tears, explaining she'd been confused and vulnerable when Klein took advantage. She tried anger, accusing me of privacy violation and calculated cruelty. She tried bargaining, begging for counseling consideration, remembering good years, what we'd built together. "Think of the children," she pleaded. "Think what this will do to Jake and Emma. They need both parents, their family intact." "I did think of the children," I replied, spreading another documentation folder. "Which is why I have detailed records of every school event you missed for therapy appointments, every parent conference skipped, every evening you were distracted because you were texting Klein, every weekend you chose emotional needs over their actual needs." Custody documentation was devastating. Margaret had compiled evidence showing Melissa's affair coinciding with decreased parental involvement, poor decision-making regarding children's welfare, and deception patterns creating unstable home environment. The court wouldn't just see adultery, they'd see emotional abandonment disguised as self-improvement. By noon, Melissa's parents arrived from Wisconsin, initially prepared to support their daughter through malicious divorce. Instead, they confronted evidence their accomplished daughter had destroyed her family for therapist affair. Disappointment in their faces added another consequence layer. Even strongest advocates questioned her judgment. The day ended with Melissa packing while her parents watched children who sensed momentous change but couldn't comprehend the scope. As she loaded suitcases, Klein dealt with his own destruction. License suspended, practice closed, marriage ending as his wife processed serial infidelity evidence. I sat helping Jake and Emma with homework, processing that our family as they'd known it was over. Unlike 5 months ago discovering their affair in this kitchen, the silence didn't feel empty. It felt like honest beginning, painful, but fundamentally honest. Judge Patricia Hendricks had seen every marital dissolution variation in 15 bench years, but she reviewed our case with particular attention reserved for situations involving children and professional misconduct. The custody hearing occurred on gray April morning in DuPage County Family Court, Melissa sitting beside expensive but limited legal representation. Her attorney, Rebecca Torres, tried framing the affair as temporary lapse during personal crisis, emphasizing Melissa's previously unblemished motherhood record and willingness to repair damage caused. "My client acknowledges mistakes," Torres argued. "She recognizes personal struggles led to poor judgment and deeply regrets family impact. However, 5 months of poor decisions shouldn't negate 13 years of dedicated motherhood. The children need both parents." Margaret's response was surgical. "Your Honor, this isn't momentary lapse. Evidence shows calculated, ongoing deception prioritizing adultery over parental responsibility. Mrs. Green didn't just have an affair, she systematically chose her relationship with Dr. Klein over children's needs, using therapy as cover while neglecting maternal duties." Evidence presentation was devastating. Margaret showed how Melissa's therapy schedule, consistently conflicted with parental obligations. School conferences missed for hotel meetings. Soccer games skipped because Klein was available. Evening family time sacrificed because Melissa was too emotionally exhausted from her affair. Hotel surveillance footage was particularly damaging. Judge Hendricks watched Melissa and Klein's comfortable routine, staff familiarity, casual public intimacy, moving through hotels like regular business. These weren't desperate emotional encounters, but planned, systematic meetings requiring detailed coordination. My testimony was measured, factual. I detailed specific instances where Melissa chose therapy over parental duties, missing Emma's school play for Klein's Tuesday cancellation, skipping Jake's parent conference for breakthrough discussion, leaving anniversary dinner early to process with her therapist at Aurora Hotel. Mrs. Green used therapeutic language manipulating family dynamics while conducting extramarital relationship, I explained. When I questioned increased sessions, she said healing required commitment, and my concerns showed I wasn't supporting recovery. I was made guilty for wanting wife time because that supposedly conflicted with mental health treatment. Child Services reports supported my position entirely. Jake and Emma adjusted well to separation, showing no distress from their mother's absence. The caseworker noted improved routine stability since I'd become primary parent. Children expressed clear preferences for remaining in established home environment. Melissa's cross-examination was painful but necessary. Torres tried establishing the affair as depression-caused aberration, but evidence showed too much planning for temporary insanity defense. Asked about missing Jake's championship game for therapy, Melissa couldn't provide coherent answers without admitting she'd prioritized Klein over her son's important moment. Most damaging came when Judge Hendricks asked directly about decision-making. Mrs. Green, help me understand how missing your daughter's school play constituted therapeutic necessity. Melissa's answer was self-destruction masterclass. Dr. Klein felt my healing required consistent, undisrupted sessions. He said canceling appointments for school events would interfere with identity progress. Judge Hendricks's expression didn't change, but implications were clear. Melissa had let her therapist lover convince her that children's needs were healing obstacles. She'd used professional authority, justifying personal selfishness while using family money funding, the relationship destroying her family. Dr. Klein's professional destruction provided additional context. His license was permanently revoked after ethics investigation revealed sexual relationship patterns with female patients spanning years. 3 other women came forward with similar therapy-to-affair stories, emotional manipulation disguised as treatment. Klein wasn't just adulterous. He was a predator systematically exploiting vulnerable women. Judge Hendricks's ruling was comprehensive. I received full custody. Melissa granted supervised visitation twice monthly at Family Services Center. The marital home remained mine with primary asset custody. Melissa's savings portion would be consumed by legal fees and life-rebuilding costs. Evidence shows clear pattern of Mrs. Green prioritizing extramarital relationship over children's welfare, Judge Hendricks stated. While parents are human and capable of mistakes, the systematic deception and willingness to sacrifice parental duties for personal desires demonstrates concerning judgment affecting custodial fitness. Aftermath was swift. Melissa moved back into childhood bedroom in Wisconsin, 38-year-old explaining to neighbors why she'd lost children and home. Klein faced malpractice suits and relocated where reputation hadn't caught up. His marriage ended when his wife discovered serial infidelity scope. Financial destruction was equally complete. Legal fees consumed most of Melissa's asset share, leaving her dependent on parents who daily reminded her of poor choices. Aurora Hotel provided detailed billing records showing hundreds of Klein credit charges, demonstrating calculated affair nature. Every romantic dinner, champagne toast, luxury amenity was documented as evidence of priorities excluding children. Standing in my kitchen after final court date, I felt complex satisfaction of precision-served justice. House silence was different. Not hollow abandonment, quiet, but peaceful honesty, stillness. I'd lost my marriage but saved my children from a mother who'd proven capable of sacrificing their welfare for desires. 6 months after custody hearing, I stood on Jake's Saturday soccer game sideline, holding Emma's hand while she cheered with 8-year-old enthusiasm. October air was crisp. Sunshine felt like blessing on our family's new version. I was no longer the father rushing from work to make games. I was primary parent whose schedule revolved around children's needs. Single parenthood required different energy, more patience, better organization, ability to be both parents when situations demanded. But there was deep satisfaction in routine predictability, interaction honesty, and knowing every decision put Jake and Emma first. I'd begun dating tentatively, coffee meetings during school hours, careful conversations with women understanding my kids were priority. Betrayal experience taught me to value transparency above all. I asked direct questions about expectations, past relationships, future goals with frankness. Some found refreshing, others intimidating. Either reaction told me what I needed. Melissa's supervised visits occurred twice monthly at DuPage County Family Services, sterile meetings under social worker documentation. Children approached sessions with polite distance, usually reserved for distant relatives, dutiful but not enthusiastic. They'd learned to see their mother as someone visiting rather than living in their lives. Melissa's relationship rebuilding attempts were awkward affairs, with forced enthusiasm and desperate questions about school, friends, activities she no longer understood context for. She'd bring elaborate gifts sitting unopened for weeks, plan activities kids had outgrown, make promises about future involvement everyone knew she couldn't keep from parents' Wisconsin house. Most telling moment came during September visit when Emma skinned her knee on playground equipment. Melissa's first instinct was looking for adults to handle situation, while Emma looked directly at me with child confidence, knowing exactly who would fix things. Social worker noted the interaction, another data point in ongoing parental relationship assessment. Dr. Klein's destruction was complete and public. Local newspapers covered license revocation extensively, former patients sharing manipulation and abuse stories, painting systematic predatory behavior picture. He'd lost practice, marriage, reputation so thoroughly that even moving states hadn't provided hoped-for fresh starts. Financial recovery took longer but was essentially complete. The house felt like ours in ways it never had when Melissa's emotional absence haunted every room. Jake and Emma redecorated bedrooms, chose new traditions, established weekend routines reflecting actual interests rather than their mother's need to appear engaged. Most evenings ended the same. Homework at kitchen table where I'd discovered Melissa's betrayal, dinner conversations about school and friends, bedtime routines in rooms holding only honest memories. I'd learned braiding Emma's hair, navigating Jake's complex math, handling 1,000 small crises requiring parental attention. House itself transformed from secret festering place to Truth Foundation 1. Family photos showed only 3 of us, honest documentation of family we'd become rather than maintained illusions. Refrigerator held school schedules, pizza menus, emergency contacts, practical life documentation built on reality rather than deception. Standing in my bedroom each night, I'd close doors on space once holding marriage artifacts built on lies. Wedding photos including woman performing love while planning betrayal, anniversary gifts bought while she established double life, decorative items creating happiness illusions where honesty was absent. Now, tucking Jake and Emma into beds and home unquestionably theirs, I understood that while I couldn't save marriage, I'd successfully protected life's most important parts. Children who fell asleep knowing their father would be there mornings, ready for whatever next day brought. House sheltering honesty instead of harboring deception. Future built on truth rather than beautiful lies collapsing under reality's weight. And so, we've reached the end of today's story. Was it what you expected, or did it take a twist you didn't see coming? I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Share them in the comments below, and let's get a conversation going. If this story kept you hooked, make sure to hit that like button. And if you're new here or just haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time to join our community. I bring you fresh, captivating stories every day, so click that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.